Sapere Aude. Have courage to think for yourself, as Kant writes in his essay on the question, Was ist Aufklärung? What is enlightenment? And with Sapere Aude, I would also like to welcome you to this video and overview over my course on the Introduction to German Idealism, the enrollment for which is now open. So you can follow the link down below and enroll. And there's different tiers, and we'll get to this in a bit. But let me begin with a quote from Friedrich Schelling's On University Studies, page 34 in the English translation, which shall be a leitmotif, or the leitmotif actually, for the entire course. Ready-made knowledge can only be memorized. Knowledge is not truly our own until we are capable of reproducing the given content in a form of our own making. Memorizing is but a negative condition. True or organic assimilation is impossible without inner transformation of what we learn. All rules for study are summed up in this one. Learn only in order to create. Only by his divine capacity for production is man truly man. Without it, no more than a tolerably well-devised machine. So, learn only in order to create is the leitmotif for this course and any course that I teach online. And as I said, enrollment is now open. Lectures have been uploaded, 3 of them out of 6, and seminars start at the end of this month. But you can, of course, also just enroll for the lectures if you want to be a self-learner. But the group discussions are certainly also always quite helpful. Now, let me just say, I think that with this introductory course to German Idealism, what we will get to is, of course, it remains an introduction, so we cannot get into the depths of every single thinker that we consider, but we will be able to see the trajectories and the importance of this movement develop. So we begin with Kant. There will be 2 lectures on Kant, because Kant is foundational for German idealism. Kant himself is, just by categorizing it, probably not fully a German idealist, but he's foundational for Schelling, for Hölderlin, for Hegel. After the 2 lectures on Kant, we will move to Fichte. With Kant, we talk on the categories and the noumenon. So we focus mainly on the first critique. And I read the first critique strictly as a work of transcendental logic. In Fichte, we will discuss the transcendental ego as the principle, which is already hinted at in Kant, but not fully fleshed out. Lecture 4 will treat of Hölderlin's rethinking of origin and the Henkai Pan, the one and many of Heraclitus, his poetic eye, and his attempt to reconcile opposites in the world through poetry. With Schelling, we will turn to his university studies, but also to the essay on the essence of human freedom, where he thinks together freedom and necessity after Kant. And with Hegel, we get into an overview over what dialectical logic is trying to do, presuppositionless thinking is trying to do after Kant. So in every single lecture, we will actually come back to Kant. And we will also have a bit of time, of course, to appreciate and understand the time of German idealism, the epoch of German idealism. So what is the mood of Kant's epoch? Kant tries something else than just reconcile or mediate between empiricism and rationalism. I think that his critical philosophy aims to reconcile the fundamental unity of being and thought. So the mood of the epoch, then, is one in which the Kant is the king, but also the overcomer of the Aufklärung, of the Enlightenment. He is why does he overcome it? But because he shows that reason, which fully awakens, you can say, if it turns into a mere formal logic, which Kant tries to argue for, but if it is a pure formal logic without all the right conditions in place, it becomes dogmatic and mechanistic. There is an opening in this period towards the cosmic self of the human being. And this, I think, begins with Kant. Kant throws open a realm of thinking hitherto concealed, and what ensues after him can only be described as an incredible explosion of various systems of idealistic philosophy, all attempting to articulate the place of the free human being in the world and in nature, through the inwardness of the subject, which is leaning outside, trying to reconcile opposites, preserving freedom in its highest and cosmic form. The mood of the Aufklärung, of the Enlightenment, beyond the simplification through popular culture and idle talk about Enlightenment values, the Aufklärung, the upclearing, is the self-opening sky, the showing of fair weather, the sudden insight into the cosmic nature of man and his relationship with nature as her steward. In the same epoch, then, we find thus figures like Alexander and Wilhelm von Humboldt. The latter articulated how the human being could perfect himself through Bildung, formation, self-formation, education to the highest degree. The university was to be the place where the law of the cosmos would be actualized and formed out within oneself. The name university means just this, the unification and reconciliation of opposites within itself. The entelechie of the human being in this epoch showed itself once more to fulfill within himself the law of the cosmos. Schiller's Ode an die Freude, Ode to Joy, perhaps most poignantly encapsulates the hope of the time. All of men become brothers. The reconciliation of opposites, importantly, though without any attempt at technocratic destruction of genuine contradictions in a sterile oneness, this genuine attempt at the reconciliation of opposites is at the heart of the epoch. There's a return of this thought of the Henkai Pan, the one and many, as we hear it for the first time in Heraclitus. In this genuine epoch that stands beyond measurement in terms of decades, the spirit of Greece is delivered into modernity and its struggle with the inwardness of the subject. The marriage of the Greek and the European spirits presents the most explosive, unique periods of the ever-burning fire of philosophia. Never in the eons of thinking have more philosophies sprung, have more genuine attempts at articulating human freedom and telos been so abundant. The dignity of the human being, which the human being finds within himself through reconciling spirit with nature, is the liberation from spiritual possession and the bursting into realms hitherto unseen. It is this what explains the explosion of free systems of philosophy of the time. So rather than despairing, as Heidegger sometimes does, it is, I think, upon future generations of thinkers and poets and philosophers alike to articulate again and again the highest achievements of the human spirit, without suspecting, unencrusting and closing metaphysics. I think that Kant says this. At the end of the first critique, he says the following: the critical path is still open. This is the last paragraph of the first critique. If the reader has had pleasure and patience in traveling along in my company, then he can now judge if it pleases him to contribute his part to making this footpath into a highway, occupied by lust for knowledge. So the critical path is still open after Kant, and this is what gives rise, what sparks German idealism. And of course, at the same time, we will also consider the inherent threats or dangers of subjectivity or subjectivism that can turn fully inward, as we see with the Romantics. So we'll touch upon briefly the Romantics, and we'll touch also upon Fichte's transcendental eye, that at the same time, of course, is allowing for intersubjectivity and other minds, and also thinks of its actions and thinking as ethical and practical. However, for Fichte, nature must be almost eradicated. Nature becomes a fiction. And nature, at least in the first critique of Kant, nature also becomes a fiction. Kant comes back to this in the third critique, but we will consider the first critique mostly. So we'll look at the direction of spirit also, and what it is that occurs during this time, and how thinkers like Schelling and Hegel try to preserve human freedom. And it is Schelling again who on university studies says something. This is incredible. This is a lecture course given at a university not too long ago. He says the following about his epoch. Look at this awareness of who they are. An epoch such as our own is surely bound to give birth to a new world. Those who do not actively contribute to its emergence will inevitably be forgotten. The noble task of shaping the future devolves upon the fresh, unspoiled energies of youth. Every young man has an opportunity to take part in this process of universal renewal. No field of activity falls outside of it. So, we must be, as he says here, inspired by the spirit of the whole. It is in this mood that, in this vein, also, that this course will be delivered. Just to mention this again, 6 lectures, which will be recorded and uploaded, and lecture notes, etc., audio files and video files. But then we'll also have 8 seminar sessions together. So I lead the seminars. There will be one additional seminar by a TA, and we'll just do a bit of a recap. There'll be 6 seminars on the 6 lectures, and then an additional one on a recap of everything that we've learned, but then also a final seminar where you can present a talk yourself, something that's been inspired by the course. So the course is difficult. My claim is that it is possible to teach courses on postgraduate level to an audience of non-academic philosophers, because the fire of philosophy still burns, and frankly, it's where we articulate what it means to be, and what it means to be human, and what it means to be free. And this is what the course aspires to do. And if you have any questions, just email me about the course. I look forward to seeing you on the inside of the absolute idea. And remember, learn only in order to create. We will complete the system of German idealism. Thank you very much.